Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Jesse's channel. Appreciate every one of you being here. We're going to continue on our topic with some prison stories. But before we get into that, I'll give you guys a quick little update. A couple of viewers expressed some concerns about the last video that I had posted, thinking that I was going to close this channel out and move on to the next one. No, not at all. My plan when I started this channel back in April was to talk about the three main industries that I've been involved in, and that plan has since changed. I'm going to leave this channel devoted strictly to the penitentiary stories that I've been bringing to all of you. I'm going to start the next channel and gear that toward Coast Guard topics. So if anybody that views this one is interested in that, you can go over and check that one out once I get it launched. Otherwise, stay here with this one. I got a lot more content, and I really enjoy telling these stories. I love hearing the comments from you guys, the good and the negatives. They're entertaining. So let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. Count time. All right. All duties within the penitentiary are important, especially those involving anything to do with security. I'm not going to rank the importance of duties. The reason I consider count time probably one of the most important ones was the frequency that we had to do it. We did count of all the inmates at a minimum 8 times a day in a 24-hour period. Now, of course, that involves day shift and night shift together. Count time was so important simply because you had to have control of all of the inmates. You needed to know where they were, whether they were alive, breathing, dead. A count was important to make sure that there wasn't any kind of an inmate escape. Now, on paper, in theory, count should be relatively easy. They're all inside of prison, right? They ain't going nowhere. So we just count them and we get accountability of them. Wrong. The penitentiary is very much just like a city. You got guys going to work, guys going to medical, guys that aren't leaving the cell blocks, segregation, all that. It's a collective effort of all the COs that are working in there to figure out where all these guys are and make sure they're all accounted for. It was a fairly complicated process as a whole. Now, speaking strictly from where I was involved, segregation. I did count a few times when I was on OJT in the different areas that I worked in: general population, chow hall, pat down, class, all that. It wasn't too terribly difficult if the inmates were cooperative. They had their ID cards. They were supposed to tell you where they were housed. And say, for instance, 3 dorm, 2 cell, upper, lower. That meant one slept on the top bunk, the other slept on the bottom bunk. If they didn't give you that information, cool. Failure to identify. Write up the charge. It'd go from there. Eventually, the guy's going to tell you where he's housed. He may just be trying to be a little bit of a turd about it, as we know that they could be. Yeah, whatever. So, the counts that I did, segregation, they weren't all that difficult most of the time. When it was easy, I only had at a max 84 guys that I had to keep track of. And the easy part about it being in segregation, they didn't go nowhere. If they did, they had an escort. We checked it off on the paperwork that we carried, whatever cell they were in, where they were going, and an estimated time of when they were supposed to be back. And when they left, they were shackled around their ankles, wrists, chained to their belly. Pretty difficult for them to wander off anywhere by themselves. They'd kind of stand out a little bit. Plus, you were supposed to have 2 bosses, one with a hand each on the guy's arm, taking him somewhere. So count in those aspects wasn't very difficult. You'd take count first thing in the morning, make sure everybody was there. You had to check for a live, living, breathing body. Meaning, if the guy was asleep in his cell, you had to bang on the cell, wake him up. Now, typically, they didn't wake up and say, "Good morning, boss. I'm presently alive." No, usually we get greeted with all kinds of other things. You know, covered up from head to toe with his blanket, you bang on the cell. Hey, what was his name? Hey, Jackson, Percy Jackson. Hey, show me something. Man, they might show you a foot, a hand, an appendage. Yeah, it's prison life, man. It is what it is. They're going to show you something. Didn't matter what, just had to make sure they were alive. We go all the way down the area. We had a paper that we would check off, and it had the numbers of the cells and whether it was up or down. SEG, it wasn't listed like that. They were single person cells. It just had the cell numbers. As you walk by, you would check them off, check everything, give that paperwork to the picket boss. Picket boss would call in classification, let them know the number that we had, go from there. Cool. Supervisors would come around at some point. Sometimes it took a little bit longer, especially if it was old Jones. They'd come around at some point, collect all the papers, turn all those in. You could always tell when it was count time because there'd be this loud, how do you describe it? A big steam stack that would release a bunch of steam, and it almost made a combination of a whistle and a horn kind of a sound. I don't remember the signals. I know that's the key factor of this channel is me not remembering. It's been a little while ago. One whistle, I want to say, signaled it was time for count. Plus, it went out all over the radio, big major broadcast. I want to say 2 whistles, count had not cleared. 3 whistles, count had cleared. 4 whistles, there had been an escape. I never heard 4 blasts of it. Usually you would just hear the 3 once you were done with it. And this went on all over the penitentiary. Everything stopped. Workers, they stopped working. They'd stand there, get ready to present their ID card, and the COs would go by and start counting them off. Once counted cleared, you go back to your business. It was done a minimum of 8 times, but it could be done any time that the facility deemed it necessary. If a kitchen worker wasn't accounted for, shut everything down and go back through your count. Whatever you were doing, if I had my little hairnet on, my gloves, and I had the tray holder in hand, I had to go put that shit down, go get a count paper, and start counting. The guys that already had their trays, they were fine. The ones that hadn't been fed yet, oh, here they go. Come on, motherfucker, you know I'm in here. You can see me all day. Go and give me my tray, man. Whatever they had to say at that point. Yeah, just depending on what kind of mood they were in. So, count could get redundant. Like, come on, man. I just counted this guy 2 hours ago. Now I got to count him again. Yes, you do. 2 of the quickest ways to be fired from TDCJ was excessive call-ins and falsifying your counts. What I mean by falsifying your counts, I got my count sheet. I just went and counted all the inmates. Cool, they're accounted for. Nobody's left. Everybody's still in the pod. I got a pod that's able to hold 84 guys. I got a total of 80. I'm moving them around. They're in the day rooms and they're in their cells. Another count's called. I take the count sheet from the picket. What you don't want to do, because you're on camera right there at the picket, is check. Sign it. We're good. Give it in. Gets called in. Paper count. Quickest way to get yourself fired if you get caught doing that shit. The other thing you don't want to do is make it look like you're doing your rounds. What I mean by that, you're walking around the tier, you're walking, and you're not even looking in the cells. As you're walking, you're just checking. Or you're just turning your head, actually looking. You needed to actually stop, verify. It took time out of the day. That's perfect example of if you follow the policy, you're probably not going to get all your work done. If you don't follow the policy, you're probably going to get fired for not following that one. Catch 22. Dealt with it every fucking day. General population count could get very difficult because you would have one section that had 3 pods, 84 inmates. I think it was 84. 84 inmates assigned to each one of those 3. A third of them would be out on work detail. Another fraction might be at medical. The worst time for count time was during chow, because you dumped the whole freaking building out at some point. They'd all be headed to the chow halls, and now we're trying to count these guys. I say we, not necessarily me, we as a CO family. Regardless of my status, I still consider the brothers and sisters family. We all serve together. So, where it would get really difficult was trying to track down a lot of the inmates and where they were. They're supposed to be in this building. Okay, are they in class? Are they in work? Where are these guys? Find them, count them. Cool. Turn in your accountabilities. All right. Where it would get difficult in SEG, and these guys would do this shit all the time. I found ways around it, but they do this all the time. You're supposed to count a live, living, breathing body. You go past the cell, and dude's laying down on his bed. Hey man, you good? And you get no response. Hey man, we all right? You bang on the cell, and dude still doesn't move. Now, even though there's 2 of us, I can't roll that door, go in, check the guy, and come back out. For me to go in there, he's got to, at a minimum, have his hands handcuffed behind his back. At that point, we had to stop movement, start banging on the door, try to get the guy to wake up, respond to us, something. There are 2 ways you could go about doing that. The wrong way is to just check the guy off and move along. When you're done with your count, you come back around, the guy may be sitting up on the bed doing whatever it is they were doing in the cells. You're good. Worst case scenario, dude's actually dead. He had a heart attack, he had a stroke, something. CO checked him off that he was good. He actually wasn't. He's completely unresponsive. And when the cell door gets rolled, the guy's dead. He's going to do a whole medical examination. What was the projected time of death? 2:13. They would use military time there, 14:13. Well, we did count at 14:05. We checked him off as good. Now the CO that said this guy was good, we're responsible for those guys, for the good or the bad. Now that CO is going down. At a minimum, they're going to get fired. At worst, they're going to get some kind of a real world street charge. Typically, criminal negligence, homicide. So, bad ordeal. What you were actually supposed to do, if you couldn't get him to respond, stop there, notify the supervisor. Supervisor's supposed to come respond, try to wake him up. If we can't do it, draw our OC spray, roll the door, cover each other, move in, check the guy's responsiveness. As soon as he shows responsiveness, back out of the cell, slam the door. If that wasn't an option, you had to suit up the team. Get the 5-man team, shield, 2 guys, 3 guys, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys behind you. 1 on the left, 1 on the right, 1 on the left foot, 1 on the right foot. Shield man, pin them. Suit up the team, go in and check the guy out. Problem with that, it took time. It took time to mobilize the team. They weren't dressed out, standing by, ready to go. It'd be me. I get pulled out of my dorm, get suited up, get ready to go. Now my work's going to lag behind. It slowed everything down. The inmates fucking knew this, and they loved doing it. They loved causing disruptions. It was fun for them. It was a game. The workaround that I had learned, and this was completely out of policy. I don't fucking care. I'm not there anymore. If I couldn't get the guy to respond to me, I bang on the door. Hey, you all right? Guy didn't respond to me. Go ahead and pull out my pepper spray. What I have here is OC pepper spray. Present yourself or you're going to be gassed. If they didn't respond still to that, I take my bean tool. I pop the bean slot, I'd start to stick that can in there like I was about to spray him. Man, it was like resurrection day at that point. These guys would ascend straight from the grave. They'd pop right up off the ground just like they were the most athletic gymnast kind of thing. Start hoe-ass boss man and me, I get my hand out, slam the slot shut, check the guy off that he's good. Now he's beating and banging on the door like a silverback gorilla, threatening to write me up. Whatever, man, write it. I've had plenty of them. Go on to the next cell. The inmates that were around that had learned that, sometimes they'd go ahead and test it. They'd call my bluff, and I was forced to either squirt some gas in and take the repercussion for that, or, shit, he called my bluff. In that dorm, that tactic may not work very much anymore. But normally, the guys would come right to life. That was what they would do to make that difficult. They do it just because it was fun. They didn't want to cooperate with us. What was another one that they would do? If it was chow time and you had one of the slots open and you were getting ready to hand the tray, you'd hand the guy his tray, he'd take the tray, and he'd stick his hand right back out. I want to see the supervisor. Come on, man. We just called count time. I got to get ready for that. I don't care, man. I want to see the supervisor. All right. Well, he's got the slot jacked. Now I got to get the supervisor involved. If we had Sergeant Como, which I rarely did, Sergeant Como would respond pretty quickly. Lieutenant Raymond, he was good at responding, but he was also the lieutenant. He had a lot of other duties to do. Jones, it'd take his ass 10 minutes to get down the hallway. Just worthless, man. Lazy ass. So that was the other one that they would do. One particular incident, one of the ones that really sticks out in my head, and then I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. We're working D-Pod, and I think the guy's name was Steele, not spelled with an extra E, Steele. I never knew the guys' first names, didn't care. Very rare for me to remember their actual names, except for the turds that stick out in my head. Anyway, me and Campbell were working down the line, and Steele is laying face down on the concrete floor there on his cell. We bang on the door. We do all the tactics. Guy's not responding to it. Campbell says, fuck it, let's go ahead and roll the door. He presses the button, yells back at the picket. Door doesn't open. We look back at the picket boss. Picket boss is sitting there. To open the door, we had to push the button at our cell door. Picket boss had to push their button as well. Double accountability, and then the solenoid would activate. You couldn't do one without the other. So, Campbell's pointing at the door, yelling back at the picket boss. Picket boss holds up the radio like he's already radioed in for the supervisor. We didn't hear it because at this point, guys are beating and banging on the doors. They knew we had a problem, and they're ready to make it worse. Oh, we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and Jones comes in. All right, here we go. He creatures his way up the freaking stairs. What y'all got going on? It's Steele, Sarge. He's not responding. He bangs on the door. Steele, get your ass up. You do this shit all the damn time. You professional jacker, aren't you? Jacker means doing something at the cell to stop COs from actually being able to do their job. All right, let's go ahead and roll the door. Y'all get y'all spray out. I said, hey, Sarge, wouldn't it be better if we just suit up the team, man? I did not want to go inside that cell with him and Steele go active, and my backup is Jones. Now, Campbell, I trusted Campbell. Jones probably would have sprayed me by accident. We get the cell door open. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't even want to go in here. Damn it. This is not how I wanted to start my day. It was like, I don't know, it wasn't even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. We hadn't even had the pill nurse come in. Hadn't even got the first round of inmates all out the damn doors in the day rooms and in the showers and all that shit. So we go inside the cell, and Jones taps him on his foot with his foot. And we've got our spray. I still keep the can right here. We'd have our spray. It's got the actuator on it. You'd have your thumb on it, and you put your hand right here. The stream is going to come out from here. Your hand was here to try to protect your face from any blowback. It comes out as a straight stream liquid. It's water based and it has the agent inside it. They don't mix. It's like oil and water. So it's water with this nasty stuff that comes out. Once it hits, it's going to go everywhere. It's like spraying somebody with a water gun. There's going to be a splash effect. And then the smell and the gas is just going to go fucking everywhere. And everyone's going to start tearing up and coughing and sneezing. It's just not fun. It's nasty shit. So we've all three got our spray out. We're in there. Jones is tapping him on the foot. He takes his freaking pepper spray, holsters it, leans down, rolls Steele over. Steele spits at him. He falls over backwards, lands on his ass. At this point, Campbell's already outside the cell. I'm like, shit. I had two choices. Back up, leave Jones in there, don't think I didn't think about it, or try to help out. I put my spray in the holster, reach down, grab Jones up under the arm, lift. I couldn't pick the guy up. He's freaking huge. At this point, he's crab walking himself, yelling, hollering, let me go, let me go. I don't know who he thought had a hold of him. I'm trying to help the guy up. He's trying to crab walk. At this point, Steele's crawling toward him. Campbell's standing there beside the door. I didn't know that. I get myself backed out. Jones comes out. Campbell slams the door, damn near hits it on Jones's foot. By this point, Steele's up. He's silverback gorilla banging on the door, yelling, hollering. I'm standing there, kind of breathing heavy. Campbell's by the door. Jones is all sweaty, trying to roll over, get up on his feet. He gets up. I was like, well, thanks, Sarge. I'd say Steele's good. Pulled out the paperwork from my vest, checked it off. Oh, Jones, he didn't say nothing. He just fucking walked off, started waddling back down the stairs, and we went back on, continued on with our count. By this point, man, the place is a freaking concert hall. Guys are clapping, cheering, yelling. They weren't yelling at us. They were yelling because they knew Jones had had an incident, and every single one of them hated that guy. It was funny after that. We laughed about that situation the whole rest of the day, and we actually had a pretty good day after that. Steele was chipper the rest of the day because they knew they had gotten over on Jones. We weren't supposed to act like we were happy that he had gotten over on. We did our best to conceal it, but Jones had done something good by that because he made our day a lot easier from there. At that point, the inmates, they didn't want to mess with us anymore. They knew they had already gotten over on the day by getting over on that guy. So that's my story with the best memory that I have of count time there. So shout out to you, man. Thanks for making the day there. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. I can be a little bit long-winded. Try not to be. I enjoy talking. Guys, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, let me know too. Hope you're looking forward to the new content that I'm getting ready to put out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stand by for a lot more stories. Happy Friday. Let's get ready for the weekend. Y'all take care.